Thinking about self-publishing and don't know where to start? Join the Spa Girls each week for an info-packed podcast filled with honest advice, tips, and resources. I'm Trudy J.
I'm Shah Barrett.
I'm Cheryl Phipps.
And I'm Wendy Valor.
And this week we have an awesome guest. We've got Michele Scott.
Wow.
She's a thriller author who has also got books that are optioned for film and television, which we're super excited about.
Hey, Michele.
Hey, Michele.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, ladies. Thank you for having me.
So what we'll do is I'll read out Michele's bio and then we'll get into the questions and find out all about your amazing career, Michele. Okay, so
Awesome.
Michele Scott is a New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today and Amazon best-selling author of over 40 novels. She's written in various genres, including thrillers, cozy mysteries, young adult mysteries, fantasy, and women's fiction under her two main pen names. Her thriller, Daddy's Home, from her Holly Jennings thriller series, which is written under her pen name of A.K. Alexander, has sold over 1 million copies and was the #1 best-selling book on the UK on Amazon and #4 on Amazon.com. Her thriller, Mummy May I, was #2 on the UK Amazon list as well. Her Wine Lovers Mysteries are currently optioned for screen, and her Holly Jennings series is currently being adapted for television, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wowza.
Yeah.
It's
Very
quite the bio.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
That's awesome.
Now, when I hear it, I go, wow, I did more than I thought I'd done. But nice.
So let's begin at the beginning. Like, how did you get into writing? Like, where did it all start?
Oh gosh, I always knew I wanted to be a writer from the time I was a little kid. So really young, 8, 9 years old, I knew. And I wrote my first little novella probably around 12. And when I went to college, I majored in journalism because my mom said you should be a little more practical. Making a living as a fiction author is not going to be easy. So that is what I did. But as the universe, the gods, however we want to look at it, would have it, my oldest son was a surprise and born preemie. And when I brought him home, I wanted to be home with my son. So I said, this is the time I'm going to write my book. Now, this is 30 years ago, almost 31. He's actually 31 this week.
Wow.
So I took a correspondence course with Writer's Digest, which I don't know if they're still around or not. And it just went from there. And it took me 12 years before an agent picked me up, and I think I did 8 full manuscripts prior and had just about as many partials. And then once I signed with an agent, it went very quickly. It was, within, I want to say, a month, because she already had something in mind as to where to take it. And then what I didn't know at the time when I wrote the first book was that they were going to ask me what the next 2 in the series were about. So the agent calls me and she says, they want to know what the next 2 books in the series are about. I said, oh, I didn't know we were doing a series. And she said, yes, they would like you to do a series. I said, okay, when do they need to know? And she said, by the end of the day, if you want a deal. And I was like, oh, okay.
No pressure.
So, yeah,
Oh my goodness.
all I had to do was write out basically a paragraph idea for the next 2. And so I did. And, that evening we celebrated with Chinese food. And it's great. I didn't cook that night.
That's always a bonus.
Kind of been
always
going
a
ever
plus.
since.
Yeah.
And so would you call them cozy mysteries or just mysteries? Like, what were you writing at the time?
Yeah, the first the first 2 series that I did were cozies, and then a lot of the backlist stuff that I had been trying to get an agent with, they were thrillers, and it just, I got really close a few times and then it would fall through. So I kind of got categorized as that. Well, not kind of. My agent kind of categorized me as a cozy mystery author. And I really still wanted to do the thrillers. So when Amazon did the whole KDP program, that, the Kindle program publishing, I thought, well, I'm just going to upload all of this backlist that I haven't, but I'm going to put a pen name to it, and I'm just going to go with it, see what happens. And nothing really happened for like the first year. And I would check my my numbers, you know, because they go in real time. And one morning I was checking the numbers, and Daddy's Home was like, it was just clicking. And I'm calculating how much money is right.
I hear you.
Right. It was a lot more than what I'd made in traditional publishing.
Mhm.
I could tell you that a lot
Yeah.
more. And I was super excited. And then Mommy May, I did the same thing. And I really don't know. Well, I have an idea what happened was a blogger picked up Daddy's Home, and that's just how it happened. And it's akin now to like our TikToks and social media, right? Blogging back then was how you right. So I kind of wish it was still like that, but it's not.
Not as easy now.
When was that? When did that happen? Like what year was Daddy Home?
That was in 2011. That was 2011. Yeah.
So those are the days of. So do you happen to know the blogger who was?
I don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I wish
It was when blogs were hugely what's the word?
Influential.
Influential. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool though, Michelle. What a I love that.
So
it
did you?
was pretty cool.
Yeah. And so what did you do then? So were the next books in the series already published? So did it just kind of roll on from there?
No, so with those books, that series, the Holly Jennings series, what happened was then Amazon started their own publishing division. So they took a pretty small group of us. I think there was about 15 to 20 authors that they came in. They started Thomas and Mercer. I'm not sure if that's when they started Montlake, but there were a few divisions they started, right? And so then they came in and they offered really nice advances, nice royalty rates, and marketing programs. So I sold them Daddy's Home, Mommy May I, and then a second book in the Holly Jennings series, Blood and Roses. And then, an interesting thing happened. We were all these authors were like really riding high, and we're selling lots of books. And within a matter of, I don't know, a few days, it just went and crashed. And we were all like, what just happened? They changed the algorithm. And I think, and I'm not sure why. I have thoughts on that, but so over time, I went back in and I'd sold through on advances. And so I got my rights back. I still don't have on one of the books, but I did ask for my rights back. And so I went back and self-published them again.
Isn't that crazy?
That's what I'm doing now. I'm basically all self-publishing.
Isn't that amazing, that algorithm? It's happened a couple of times, hasn't it? And along the way, and all of a sudden, boom, income just goes bang down.
And it also used to be that way in traditional publishing, as far as in the mystery genre, particularly the cozy genre, or I would say genre fiction, where you were like a mid-list author, right? Every few years, instead of bumping up the advances, there'd be a new group of writers, and you could either make a decision to stick with, or you could not stick with, right? So you would see that happen. So it's just, writing is a real passion, right? You have to have it within you that if I never ever sell a book, I'm okay. I'm going to keep writing. Right. And if you have that, you can never have the mindset in this that I'm going to go make $1 gazillion at this, or I'm going to be a bestseller at this. It's a nice goal. It's a great dream. But if you don't love what you do, because this is not an easy thing, go take up something else, play tennis, take up piano. I don't know, but writing, you've got to really be in this because this is what you love doing.
Amen, sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honest with you.
Totally agree, because otherwise, because there's so much that you're not actually in control of. So you've
Exactly.
you can control what you can control in terms of the production and your writing and your love, but you, even if you're published by Amazon, you're still at the whims of
Amazon.
the algorithm gods.
It's funny. It's funny that it even happens to our Amazon, like to their own imprints. Like you would expect them to.
Yeah, I think that's really weird. I think that you'd be nurturing your own store, wouldn't you? You would be, and your own authors, but apparently not.
Yeah, well, and it just also depends on it's a numbers game, but it's still a business, and it's units and how many, and that's how they look at it, how many units are being sold. That's across the board, whether you're Amazon or honestly, an indie author, a self-published author should look at it that way too. Like if I put advertising dollars behind one series and I put another set of advertising dollars behind another series, I'm going to give it a certain amount of time. And then if I see one pulling way stronger for me, I'm going to move that marketing budget over, and that's not always easy, because I might really, really love that other series and be like, well, why isn't that? And that, I mean, because I'm experiencing a little bit of that currently. And I'm like, man, I would have thought that would have been what took off. So it's, it's hard. Being a creative and having a business sense is not always easy.
No.
It's kind of the opposite of what you're saying. So you're saying to be a writer, you need to have to love it and be passionate about it and just do it, whatever may come. But then when you're actually publishing and you're doing the business side of things, you actually have to have a different hat on, and it's not about the book you love the most, it's about the book that does the best.
It does make it hard, but I think that once you do reach that point where you are publishing, you have to wear two hats, especially as an indie author, and you have to square away some time. You have to like daily say, okay, this is my block of time. I'm going to do all my administrative and my business. I would even suggest squaring away time for education, because I'm currently taking courses on marketing. I'm always reading books on writing. You can never learn enough. I'm listening to podcasts like yours or whatever that is. I say square away some time for that. But most importantly is your writing time, right? That's sacred.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Making total sense.
Making a note.
So, do you still publish under the Michele Scott name, or are you mostly focused on the AK Alexander? What's your?
No, I do Michele Scott as well. So I'm currently working on a new cozy series, new mystery series. It's not quite cozy. It's a little more rom-com, but it's definitely heavy. It's all mystery. So I'm doing that, but I already have it churning in my head for the next thriller. So I'll flip-flop. I did take a little hiatus for personal family reasons, and it was quite a long hiatus, honestly. It worked out the way it was supposed to, and I'm glad I did what I did. But now I'm back in the game, and I really like the idea of like, I can write this funny, kind of quirky, off the wall, cozy, which is what it is. And then I switch and go write like a dark serial killer thriller.
Yeah.
Isn't
totally
that funny?
opposite.
Yeah. Is it like a kind of palate cleansing thing for you, or is it just that like it's quite a juxtaposition, these two very different styles?
Yeah, I think sometimes and this goes back to writing what you love, like sometimes I think, wow, if I just focused, because I still make quite a bit more out of the thrillers. And I think, well, gosh, if I just focused on my thrillers, I could probably double my income. But I really love writing the cozies. I really love writing the mysteries. So I don't want to not do that. So it's just, I'm kind of the mindset, like if I get an idea that I love, I'm gonna explore it and probably run with it. If I get an idea in my head and I don't write it down, let's say, and it sticks with me for like several days, then I'm gonna write that. But if it goes away after a day or two, I'm not gonna write it. I'll forget it.
So how much time do you dedicate to each genre? Do you have is that one book a year for each, or two or three?
Yes. Yeah, right now it's about, I'm trying to get back up to speed where it's one book on each. But the hard part also with that is that we have voracious readers out there. When they love something, they want the next book, right?
Yes.
So if I can speed up my writing pace, I would. But I also want to put out a quality book. So when I do that, I know I have to slow down, because I don't always do my best work when I'm doing it really fast. And I'm fortunate that I have this huge backlist, because what I'm discovering now is that because of like TikTok and Instagram and these new social media platforms, that I am finding a whole new readership and a different demographic that I didn't have prior, that didn't know about these books, you know. So I'm promoting backlist, and I'm seeing sales. So I spend quite a bit of time looking at that while I'm writing, just, you know, to see, because that is one positive that I think has happened with ebooks and with social media, is that you can tap into what you wrote previously and find new readers.
Yeah.
And those thrillers, I'm sorry. Those thrillers are quite big too, aren't they? Your thrillers.
They are bigger books. Yes. Yeah. But what's funny is I'm finding the cozy I'm writing just keeps getting longer and longer.
Yeah.
Are you a plotter or a pantser? I have to know.
Am I a what?
A plotter, or are you a pantser?
I'm a plotter.
Yes.
I have tried to do the pantsing. I can't. But what I have found is that I sometimes will go off track of the outline, but what I like about having an outline is if I do go off the rails and then I get to, like, say a few chapters out of it, and then I go, I don't know where to take this, I can go back to my outline. So it's kind of like having a map. I mean, that's how I look at it. It's like a map on the road, right? We can go off-roading a little bit. It's probably going to get us to where we want to be. But if I get too far out, I can always turn around and come back and go, oh, you know what? Let's stick with that.
Yeah. So are you how many of the A.K. Alexander books do you have? Like, is that a large proportion of the 40 books, or is it?
No, most of them are Michele Scott books, honestly.
Okay.
So I have, let's think. There's four in the Holly Jennings thrillers, and in book 5 I'll do next. And then there is Mommy May's a standalone. There's a book I wrote, Covert Reich, is a standalone, and The Cartel. Do I have anything else? I think those are it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so those are all backlist titles. Are you so what kind of marketing are you doing on those backlist titles for those 2 different series? Like, are you
really the Facebook ads still. I just took a course, and so did my assistant. We took a course on Facebook ads, and they seem to actually be working. And another thing is the social media, and I'm also taking a course on TikTok because it's so foreign, right? Which is not, I feel like the old lady on there. I'm like, this is not my wheelhouse, but
no, you're not.
Don't we all? You're not alone.
So I think that's kind of what I'm doing, building my newsletter list that you can, those are always your loyal fans. Those are your readers. So having a good marketing plan is really important, and if you can have a team in place, and even if that team only consists of one other person than yourself, because you want somebody to bounce ideas off of. I mean, my assistant Jen and I, we just put some ads together, and I honestly did not think this one particular ad, I was like, I don't see how that's going to work. That's the ad that worked.
It's always the way.
Always.
There is no golden secret, is there?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd say for those that don't have an assistant, you could do it with fellow authors, because it's just getting that alternative point of view. And like you say, inevitably it's the one that you think, oh, I don't know, that weird orange colored graphic with, you know, some
Yeah.
ridiculously small amount of text, for example, is the one that just picks
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
That's very true. And it's really good advice to get involved, like whether that's on Facebook or, I mean, back in the day, I belonged to a writers group and I would actually physically go there every Tuesday night. And there was, I think, 6 or 7 of us. So, you know, that's important. It's also important, though, to remember that constructive criticism is very valuable. But at the end of the day, I tell writers that if you feel strongly about something that you've written and you have somebody telling you, oh, what, I don't like that, or that was, stick with your gut. It's your story, right? So, because everybody's going to have an opinion.
Of course.
In fact, I received that valuable piece of advice from my mentor, Mike Sirota, who I call Yoda. He was like a dad to me. And I was in his group, his writers group. And I kept getting like kind of this bombardment a little bit by a couple of them. And he took me aside and he always called me kid. He goes, you know, kid, I think you just have to go write, because everybody here's just messing with your brain a little. So go write, bring it back to me and I'll look at it. So sometimes just even having one person is good enough for that.
Yeah, that's so true. That's like, and I also think that sometimes writers, if you're in a writing group where they're critiquing, they feel like they have to be critical, like that's kind of like that they're more critical than a reader or someone else who just it's because it's their job to do it or something, like that they feel like they have to be more critical. That's really good advice.
Right.
So,
Could you tell us a bit about your process for writing?
Oh yeah. So actually, and I can't take claim on this, but there is a series of books called How to Write a Damn Good Novel, How to Write a Damn Good Mystery by an author named James Frey. And they're older books. They were written years ago, but his process, and then I kind of have adapted it to my own, but it really became beneficial, especially when that agent told me they want to know what the next 2 books in the series are about. So I start out with my what ifs, you know, which is very easy, whether it's a thriller or a cozy, like what if somebody was murdered? And then I always go to the victim first. And I start with character interviews, almost as if I was interviewing you for a job, but a little more personal, right? So, or for a friendship or whatever, marriage, I don't know. But like you're looking at that, you're asking questions as basic as how old are you, what's your hair color, to what's your, you know, your political view, stuff that may not ever come into your book, but you get to know your characters so well that they really feel three-dimensional, like they're real people, and people want to spend time with them, because that's essentially what they're doing when they're reading your book. They're spending time with your characters. So I do that, and then I jump into character journals, which even if I'm not going to write the book from first person, and I do first person in some and third person in others, but I always write my character journals in first person. So I'll do the victim, I'll do my antagonist, I'll do my protagonist, I'll do pretty much not every character, but every major character will have a journal. They can be anywhere from 2 pages to 20 pages. So it's a lot of back. But here's what's interesting about that is that your plot comes from your character journals, because as you start figuring out people's personalities, who they are, what's important to them, it sort of dictates plot. It's really interesting. You're like, oh, I didn't know that about that person. I could do this here, right? And so once I get through that, then I do plot outline. And I used to do, my plot outlines used to be, let's say, like up to a page, a chapter, just, really extensive. Now they're like 2-3 sentences. They're really short. Yeah. And a lot of times I'll do say like the first 10 chapters or first 5 to 10 on my plot outline. And then I go from the ending in. The middle can get a little, that's where sometimes it gets really flexible for me. Right. And I go, oh, I'm going to go this way or that way. And ideas come. And so that's a little bit of the beginning process. And then once I start writing, I tell writers, you just, pardon me, puke out that first draft.
Yeah.
Like, don't, right?
Absolutely.
Just don't obsess over. And, you know, I just saw or heard something on Alessandra Torre wrote something the other day about interviewing Dean Koontz and how he spends all this time going back and rewriting page 1, you know, doing this. He spends like 14 hours a day. Now, I don't know about you guys or ladies. I'm a parent. I have other stuff going on. I don't have that flexibility,
No.
right? So I don't have 14 hours to sit and write. That would be amazing if I did, but I just don't. So what I say to writers is, especially beginning writers, because you can be overly critical, censor yourself, and just be like, oh, this isn't right. This isn't, you know, just keep writing. Just look at your outline, keep writing, because the real writing then comes in the editing. That's where when you go back and do draft 2, draft 3, and even draft 4, I used to do up to 6 drafts. I now do about 3 drafts I feel comfortable with at that point to send it on to an editor. But I would say, don't slow down because you don't feel it's just right. Like even for me, when I'm writing now, and I'm on a roll, I love dialogue and I'm on a roll with dialogue, but I know I need to set the setting or the scene, but I don't have that super clear in my mind. I just know it's a coffee shop or whatever. I'll just put in parentheses in bold coffee shop and then, you know, kind of asterisk. So I know I have to come back later and fill that piece in.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I've got a question, just going back to the character journals. Do you have journal prompts as you're writing those, as your characters, I should say, are writing those journals? Like, how do you know what to, where do you go with that?
I kind of, like I said, I start with the victim. So I go into the victim, like, how did I wind up dead? Who would have wanted to kill me? I can't believe this happened to me. You know, and then I start talking about like from that perspective, that character's brain, like what were they involved in? Who didn't, you know, who did they love? Who loved them? Who did they hate? Vice versa. And you just start going that way. And then so they start telling you who these other characters kind of are. So that becomes a prompt within itself. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of free flowing. That's where it's not so structured, like that. All of that goes into the structured outline, but that's where free flowing writing kind of comes. And a lot of times I handwrite that. I do a lot of handwriting still.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's kind of like unraveling a puzzle. Or, you know, so you've got the central piece, which is your victim, and then you've got all these little threads all around them, kind of thing. That's very cool. I've never heard that method before. I think that's so cool. And you could use that, wouldn't have to be for mystery. You could use it for anything, you know.
You can use it for anything. And what's great about it is, like what you just said, it's kind of like a puzzle. It's exactly how I look at it. I go, okay, because sometimes as I'm getting through the chapters, I realized, oh, wow, chapter 9 should really be chapter 13 and, you know, start piecing it together until it really feels good. It's very fun. Sometimes it's a difficult mental exercise, but it can be really fun. Yeah.
Nothing more satisfying when the pieces actually lock in. And you're like,
yes,
that's where it's supposed to be.
That's where it's supposed to be. I just had that moment the other day. I was like, yeah, you know. So yeah, that's essentially my process.
Yeah,
nice, very good process.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there, like, particular to thrillers, any advice for aspiring thriller authors, or anything that you think that you have to include? Obviously the dead body, for example, but is there something that amps up the tension, or how do you make it a thriller in that way?
Well, I think whether you're writing a thriller or a mystery really doesn't matter. I think the key is, and there is an argument as to what's more important, characters or plot line. thrillers tend to be more plot driven. However, when you're doing a series, what is really important overall is your characters, because if people don't like your characters, or at least, or even hate your characters, whichever way it is going to go, you want them to at least love your main, your protagonist. But if they don't, they're not going to pick up book 2 or book 3. They're not going to continue, and they're probably not even going to finish book 1. So, but as far as elements within the thrillers and mysteries are different, because in the mysteries, you need your red herrings and you need your clues, and you have to take them down a different path, and you don't know, the reader doesn't know who the killer is. The goal there is for the reader, you want to get them to a place where they think they might know who did it. You give them enough information so that when they get to the end, they don't go, oh, I didn't see that coming at all. You want to get them to a place where they look back and go, I thought maybe, but I wasn't quite sure, right? You want to give them that. And then the thriller, you tend to know who, at least you get into the killer's head. There may be a surprise at the end as to if my main character knew the killer or somehow had some kind of connection, but you do tend to get into the killer's head at some point and know who they are. That's really the big difference between the two, I find. Yeah,
that's fascinating. And so let's talk about the film rights, the options that you've had on the 2 different series. Like, how does that come about? How does it even happen? Explain it to us all.
Well, so it didn't come about in the way that a lot of these do come about. So it was just honestly luck and happenstance. It was a situation where I went to a writers' conference many, many years ago with a couple of friends that weren't writers, but interested in writers and wanted to check out the conference. And they loved my wine mysteries. And so the wife said, oh, can I give some of these to my friend? He produces shows, TV shows. I said, sure, yeah.
No,
and
no.
then
No, I'm not going to
You can't.
not do that. No, that's not. No. So she did, and I didn't hear anything. I didn't think anything. And then I received I'm trying to remember because this is so long ago. I mean, this is like 2010, maybe before that. It was like 2008, 2009. And I received a call from a producer, and he said, oh, I happen to have your wine mysteries. Now, I asked my friends, is this the guy that you gave them to? And they said, no. So I didn't know, but he wanted to meet me. So I went to LA and I met with him, and he loved them, and he optioned them. And we, at that time, had actually Jennifer Love Hewitt was really interested, but then she went on and did a different project, and Vincent kept trying, going in different directions, and nothing clicked. So then I actually had the guys from, I had a boutique publisher publishing some work for me, and they had a connection with the guys that did Mad Men and The Walking Dead. Those guys came in and optioned, but then when we had a showrunner and everything for it, but then there was a contractual dispute on her end, and that got dropped. So then nothing happened. I had this hiatus due to my father's passing and some other things. So I didn't write. I actually went in and started running our family business. And when a few years ago, then I decided it's now time. It's a good timing for me to get back into writing full time. And out of the blue, I get a call from Vincent, who had been the original producer.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he says, I don't know if you still own the rights to these or what's going on with them, but I was looking at a bunch of my backlist stuff and I still really love these stories. And so this was 2019 and or December 2018. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And so now we a little bit further along, right? And we have, and I wish I could announce here, ladies, I can't yet due to contracts,
okay.
but we have a great actress, you'll know her, attached, an amazing award-winning screenwriter, and just some really cool stuff happening there. But then going back to remember, so this is how it's all worked. Going back to my friends who gave the books to their friend, I didn't know who their friend was. When I was looking over contracts, the producer who's doing the Wine Lovers, he's giving a percentage to this other guy, like a 5%. And I said, well, who is this guy? He goes, well, he's a friend of yours. You know him. I said, I don't know this guy, Brad. Like, what are you talking about? And he goes, no, that's how I got your books. And I said, okay. And he says, and he's a good friend of mine. And I said, can I have a conversation with him? And he said, sure. So I get on the phone with him and he goes, you don't know me, but I know your friends, Christy and Joey. And that's how I got your books. And he says, I don't want anything from this deal. But I know that you write all these thrillers. And that's what I'm interested in. He's like, I passed the other books on to Vince because that's what he does, but I want to look at your thrillers. So that's how all of that
And
came
so
about.
this other guy's doing the Heidi Jennings books.
Holly Jennings.
Holly, sorry.
Yeah.
Holly.
Yeah. We're actually working on it together. It's each project is a very different feel. The Wine Lovers is being adapted, and I really don't have any creative input on that, and I'm totally fine with that. This other deal, I'm involved with the screenwriter. Like I speak to her almost daily. I speak to Brad daily, just about. So it's a really different. They're two different projects, and it can go either way like that. It just really depends on contracts and what each producer and team, how they want to go about doing it.
Yeah.
So,
What an awesome story. And I also think not just I would say it's serendipity. It's not just like, obviously you had the goods to go with the luck, but also the time span. It's not an overnight thing. It's not a 1 year, 2 year. We're talking a decade, really, aren't we? Plus.
It gives us hope.
Yeah.
So, there's the thing. That's why I said from the outset is that you have to really love this, because it does take time. I can remember at one point, the first time I spoke at a conference, I was introduced as an overnight success, and I had to laugh when I got up there. I said, yeah, an overnight success, 12 years in the making, and as many manuscripts, right? So you just got to keep plugging away at it. And I always, when I write, I see things very visually. So I see movies, I see TV, I've always done that. And I always, in the back of my mind, had like put out there, gosh, it would be so great if that happened. And so when you say the word serendipitous, that's accurate. Yeah.
So congratulations to you.
Yeah, so exciting.
Thank you. It's really fun. I still it's very surreal still.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't think it will be real until I see it on the screen.
Yeah.
So can
So
we break
cool.
it? Can we break it down a little bit? Because there's a couple of things that, if someone's never heard of what an option is, for example, or how it works, could you just sort of explain what that is and kind of why it did take so long and how it works when you're kind of dealing with producers?
For me, so an option is when a producer comes in and they basically option the TV and film rights. So when you're publishing, let's say you are self-publishing and a big publisher wants to come in, Random House and Thomas, whoever it is, and they buy your book rights. Don't ever sell your TV and film rights. Don't ever do that. Okay. And even look at your audio rights as separate rights. Look at everything as a separate, okay? And then negotiate the best deal you can. But I always say, at that point, get yourself an agent, and they would give you the same advice. And so when a producer comes in and he'll option your television and film rights, it's for a certain period of time, typically. And you can always re-up the option. And they might give you a few $1,000s for it. They might give you $500, or it could just be an agreement between the two of you that they're going to go shop it, and you have a real trusting type of relationship that way. But you have to know who you're working with to be willing to do that. So it's they'll come in and say option for a year, then they can re-up the option every 6 months or every year, depending on how you want to do that. And when they do option, during that period of time, if another producer comes in and is showing interest, you're bound by contract. So, and it's just not good practice to say, oh yeah, so in fact, I contacted Vincent before I ever said to Brad, yes, you can option these thrillers, only out of like they have a relationship, and I was introduced, in that way. You never want to step on toes, right?
No,
So
it's professional respect, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's professional respect. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's essentially how that looks.
And there's really no guarantees, even if you get an option. That's a very fluid thing, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a very fluid thing. And so it goes back to your question as to why it took so long. I never shopped these for this purpose. I always saw it going. I always saw it in that it had that vision, but I never shopped them. I didn't have a TV film agent like some people do. I had a literary agent, but they weren't shopping it. So now if you get to that point and you have an agent who is willing to shop it, that's great. But they have to also have some credentials in that world, so yeah, it's not an overnight thing. And even getting something made isn't overnight. It's years. It's years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting to me is that you're actually, because you've got these two different projects, and one is you're completely standing away and they're just going to do whatever they're going to do with it, versus this one where you're a bit more involved. And do you know which one is more common? Can you talk about that a little bit? Like,
I think the first is more common. The first with the writer not being too terribly involved. And and it also depends on who is attaching to it. With a bigger name, with bigger names, they kind of want the writer just, you can come watch a few days of the filming, but we'll
back away.
We'll call you if we need you, right?
Just shush in the corner there.
Yeah,
exactly. You're in your opinions on what this character, because they do make changes, right? They'll make changes to your character. They'll make changes to the plot, even like they don't necessarily follow the actual line of your book, right?
That's right. And even with the Holly Jennings stuff, I've had to work with the screenwriter and help, like we've come up with ways to adapt it. So there's a lot that we had to cut out to create a 90-minute feature, right? There's a lot of it had to be cut, and a few things had to be changed due to looking at it from a budgetary perspective. Like, that's going to be really expensive to film that scene. So how do we accomplish the same thing without blowing a budget here? Right. So which is kind of, I think that's why when people say the books are always better than the movie or TV show, I think that's why you have to cut out a lot.
And also, as the reader, you can create that scene. There's no budgetary constraints, and then you can have, battle of whatever it is, Lord of the Rings style if you want, So you create what you create in your head, what they look like, and I think it gives you more of a sense of feeling, right? You just
Is there a particular, do you prefer one over the other, or are you either's fine? Like, I'm
enjoying both processes, honestly.
I
am. Yeah. So no, I don't have a preference. I love the idea of like, wow, this big kind of a big deal, right? And just kind of the element of surprise and how are they going to do this? And I'll be able to be on set and things like that. So that'll be really fun.
Yeah.
But I also really like the idea. I'm working really well with this screenwriter, and we're actually now talking about doing something original together, which would be really fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like doing team stuff like that. I've done a few co-author things, and I've enjoyed them. So I like them both for different reasons.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
It's so exciting.
It's such an amazing thing to have such a variety of projects.
It's awesome.
That you're passionate about.
So are there any advice for authors in this process? Like, is there anything that you've come across where you had to kind of go figure out how to deal with it, or anything that people need to think about before they get into sign an option or get into a relationship with a producer?
Yeah, I think honestly, and again, it just goes back to what we talked about in the beginning. Always be a couple things. Always be prepared. So if you know that you would love to see your book go to television, movie, whatever, be prepared. And I'll tell you how to do that. Is that I knew that I always wanted this to happen. So I took all of my books and I wrote a paragraph on each one, so that when I was asked for that, which I was by both these producers, what is available? What do you have? You've got a lot of books. And not everybody's going to have that, right? But just to have that ready to go if you get asked, right? Just start with that mindset, that because it's a little bit of timing and a little bit of luck. Okay. And then
so you're talking a blurb on each book.
A blurb on each book. Yeah, just like your back. Yep, exactly. And then be realistic, be hopeful, but be realistic, so that and I'll tell you why. Like, I got the first time this stuff got optioned, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have this TV show. It's gonna be amazing, blah, blah, blah. Right. And then it was like, that's not happening. And then another option comes along, like, and so now I've learned to and even now, like I'm still kind of like, okay, I'm still feeling like I'm in the shallow end, and I'm not going to, like I said, it won't be real till I see it on the screen, because there's still a lot of things that can happen. So one of the things that I keep in mind, and this is what I would say, is just keep writing. You just have to keep looking at what's my next book project, because that's who I really am, is an author, right? I'm not a film person. I don't, not a screenwriter or anything like that. I've tried. It's not in my wheelhouse at all. So just keep writing your next project and hoping that this all works out. It's going to be really cool. Right. It's just like a little bit of like cherry on the top.
Love that. It's great advice.
Awesome. That is great advice. That's all the questions I have. Has anyone else got any more questions?
My mind is like
I wanted to say, how cool is it for your children that they are going to have their name attached to this book, to this film if it comes out?
I gotta tell you, I don't think my children, they're all grown, right? They range from 21 to 30. I think they saw all the writing struggles, but they really saw me just as mom. Like, mom takes out the trash, mom feeds the dog, mom, so it's not like super impressive to them. They think it's cool. Like, they're like, oh, that's great, mom. That's so cool. Now, maybe again, when they see it, like I did, like I said, when it's on screen, maybe it'll be a little bit more like, wow, that's, you really did it, mom.
Well, I also meant written by A.K. Alexander, which you said is their names.
Got
that name.
Which was kind of a neat, I didn't think about it when I came up with the pen name, but my oldest Alex said, that's really cool, mom. It's AKA, right? So also known as.
Listen.
Nice.
That is cute.
Wow, that is cool.
Kids are so clever.
Smart one. They're all smart.
So have you got any final piece of advice for our listeners? Anything that you want to, if anyone embarking on a writing career, some piece of advice that you wish you'd gotten when you were younger or just starting out?
I wish that I wish I'd known it would take this long. So that I didn't get my heart set on certain things, and then, but everything happens in the right time, the way it's supposed to, is what I've learned. And the best advice I ever got was from an author named Bryce Courtney, who is a #1 best-selling author in Australia, The Power of One. And Bryce, I went to a writer's conference. Oh gosh, I'm thinking 25 years ago, maybe more. And we had to apply for these courses. It was in Hawaii, which was really cool, but you never saw much of the island because you were in class the whole time. But you applied, and there were 10 of us in the group. And he said, bum glue. That's all you need. You glue your bum to the chair and you just start writing, right? So whether that's you're a pantser or you're a plotter, if you look at it this way, if you write a page a day, you'll have a book in a year, even if you do outline, right? So just write. That's the best advice I can give. And be kind to yourself as a writer. This is not easy, and it can be overwhelming, and it can be lonely at times, and it's but I think that's partially why we like it, because we're loners a little bit, we like social stuff like this, but we like our lone time and our brains, talking to characters and stuff. So that's
awesome advice.
And so if someone wants to find out where you find out more about your books or find out more about you, where do they go?
So my website is michelescott.com, and that's with one L. And then I have the website akalexander.net. And my Instagram is just Michele Scott Author. Same with the TikTok, Michele Scott Author. I'm still learning all of that. We could do a whole nother session on marketing.
So
right. I know.
Always the way. I'm going to go and check you out on TikTok after this.
Yeah, we will.
It's
for more likes.
It's different, but so those are the places. And I think if you just go to Facebook and just put in Michele Scott and then AK Alexander, it pops up.
Yeah, awesome.
Very cool.
But readers should know that if you go to my sites, you can actually download, sign up for the newsletter. You can download, I can't remember which books are free, but I think Mommy May I is free. Mommy May I you can download, and I think Saddled with Trouble, which is actually also, I didn't say that, I forgot, that's also been optioned, that series for
TV.
You forgot that.
I actually forgot about the third one.
That's kind of, did you ever see the show The Ranch on Netflix with Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah.
So this is kind of Yellowstone meets The Ranch with murder mystery. Yeah. It's got comedy and drama and humor, and this poor woman's always tripping over a dead body. So
as they do in Cozy Mysteries.
Yeah. You got to suspend your belief system for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's so good. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's
talking to us about your experiences. It's been great.
Thank
we
you,
have to have you back one day.
Oh, I would love to. Anytime. It's been a real pleasure. I really, really loved it.
All right. So now we know where you can be found. Where can we be found, Shah?
So we can be found at spagirlspodcast.com and on Patreon at spagirlspodcast and on Instagram at spagirlspodcast, as well as Facebook.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Thank you all. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Spagirls podcast. Thank you, Michele, for joining us. We will see you again next time. But for now, farewell.
Bye.
Bye.